In this video, I'm going to show you how to use TikTok Ads Manager from start to end, how you can sign up and get $6,000 in ad credit, how Business Manager works and all the questions, all the problems you run into, how to create a winning campaign, the data you should be looking at, and the full funnel, like what ads you need to make. Now, this is coming from someone who spent £650,000 pounds, so probably $800,000 in TikTok ads, so I know what I'm doing here. Now you can skip to these timeframes if you want to know these exact things. So let's start off. First of all, if you press the link below, you're going to get access to this offer, which you can claim up to $6,000 in ad credit. If you don't use the link, essentially, if you just search TikTok ads, you'll come up to this regular page and then you can press get started. So let's get started. You fill in your email, your password, and press sign up. So let's fill in this capture card really quickly. You'll find this a lot in TikTok ads that they will ask you a lot to confirm with these captures. It's so frustrating. After entering the code, it's taken me to this page. So I'm going to quickly just fill in these details. To be honest, TikTok ads is quite easy. Like they don't check too much, right? So I'll quickly fill in this data, but fill in what you would normally do, your business name, your website, and so forth. Then I quickly just check here, make sure everything is in the correct time zone. For me, I'm in the UK, so I'm going to press Great British Pounds. Now you're taken straight to an ads manager. So everything here, you can just press accept on. It will try push you to run a campaign. So we don't really want to run campaigns straight away, so we're going to try to get out of this really quickly. Let's press switch to full version. All that means is that what it's showing you now is the basic. So it's the easy side of stuff. We're going to go to the proper, how you run ads properly. So let's switch over. Now, if I want to get out of this, what I'm going to do is press dashboards, leave, and now I have to confirm. Now you've officially got an ads manager. So now that we've got an official ads manager, what we're going to do is come over here and we're going to go to business center. So ads manager and business manager are a little bit different. What business manager is that it houses everything, whereas the ads manager is to literally run your ads. Sometimes you end up on the business manager page, is fantastic. If you end up on the ads manager page, this is all you need to do. So I filled out all my information here. Just going to click confirm, and there we go. Now we'll skip payment. We don't need to set up payment right now. Skip. What we'll do is we can skip this for now. I'll show you how to link this, but I'm going to skip for now. Now, if you're on this page, what we should be able to do is just press business center, and it's going to open up, and here we go. We've landed on the business center. It may ask you to add your number and email to authenticate. So just go through it normal. The good thing about TikTok, setting up is quite an easy process. You can see it only took me like 5 minutes. Now, what I want to run you through quickly is if we go back, sometimes you'll have two of these, right? So one is a personal account and one is like your business account. All that means is that your company or your business, right, has its own ad account, kind of like a company bank account in the way, whereas this is your personal bank account. So whenever we want to run ads, we want to run it here. But I'll run in the details anyway a little bit later. All right, let's go into TikTok Business Center. Right, so now that we're in Business Center, before I run you through how to set everything up and how to make sure everything's working, I just want to explain to you what the Business Center actually does. So you should end up in something looking like this, as I've shown you before. Essentially, what the business or manager here does is it houses everything. So Ads Manager, what that does is that any ad campaigns you have, anything you're doing on the audiences, anything to do with even, I think, ad comments, anything to do with ads, forgive me, that was bad, right. Anything to do with ads, that lives in here. But there are other things you can do outside of the ads manager. Like you can manage your TikTok, your finances, or the personal data, your pixel data as well. Funnily enough, in TikTok specifically, pixel is mixed with the ads manager, but this kind of houses everything. So when you're an ads manager, all you're looking for is the ads, audiences, and so forth. In the business manager, that just houses other assets. What we'll do is we'll go through a few assets that it does actually house. Let's go see some of the assets that it actually houses. So number one, you've got your ad account here. If you move over, you've got your TikTok account, your TikTok shop. These are very easy to add on. So if your TikTok account, all you need to do is press add TikTok. And you can just scan the QR code. Same thing with your TikTok shop. It's quite an easy process. If you've already got an existing one, follow this, or you can just request access to someone else's. So all that lives there. Then you've got your users. To add a member is very, very easy. So if I press add member, add the email, let's usually set them to standard or depending on what they are. If it's a team member, all we need to just give them standard. With people who I really trust, I do give them admin access. Obviously, keep in mind that they have full control. So that can be a bit of an issue. So usually with team members, we'll just give them standard, add the email, and we're sorted. What I'll do is I'll try to add one now for you. So if I go into next, and now I can add them to my ad account, as an admin, TikTok, and all the other things here. So they get access to everything. So really straightforward. Now, if you come down, you can fill in your finance options here really, really easily. Up update access settings. Press finance, you can add in your details. The final thing that I would definitely do is make sure we verify our information. I'm not going to do it now because just to make our lives easier, but you just press start verification and you fill out the details. This is so that TikTok knows you're legit. One of the things you don't want to be in is a TikTok like business account ban. Very difficult. So I would just fill this out. It only takes maybe 2 or 3 minutes. The question I get a lot is like, when adding people, sometimes they can't like access the ad account. So when you've added someone, make sure you press grant access, come over, and then wherever the ad account is, and so forth. So make sure you add them to all the relevant things. Otherwise, like they might be in the ad account, but not be able to use it at your TikTok shop. Right, let's go set up our ad account now. So let's go, we'll shift over here. So now we're back in Ads Manager. Now I know it looks complicated, but it's not. We'll go into campaigns. So campaigns here is where everything would live, and we'll go through it in detail on how we like sell and make it really easy. We've got tools, quite a few things you can do here. So we'll walk through it very quickly. So we've got tools here as well. So we've got quite a few things here. Honestly, like a lot of these you probably won't use that often. So Audience Manager, if we just shift over to it, all that is where all the different type of audiences live. And we'll go through it a bit more thoroughly, but essentially there's different types of audiences you can make. So some based off the customer file you have, some based off if you have an app, your app activity, your web traffic, and even your current TikTok account. I'm going to run through a bit more thoroughly, like which ones you would use and why. And then you have comments manager. So on any of your ads, if you have any question, if anyone's saying anything, you can just remove the negative comments, reply here as well. Now, one of the main things before we even start to set up the ad account is we want to set up your tracking or your pixel. So one of the things we're going to want to set up is your pixel or your data tracking. You press events manager, you're probably going to run into authentication, such as heads up, and it will look something like this. Before I show you how to set it up, I'm going to show you the use case. So I've come onto Gymshark's website, right? And I've got something called these little trackers, right? The little TikTok pixel helper. If what's happening here is everything that I click, it's getting sent back to the ad account. So if I press here, right, it's already pinging. So it's saying page view, landing page. It's already saying that we've come on. If I press this product, it'll probably go into content view. We'd love to do it. There we go. And look, if I press add to bag, it will now ping and said this person added to cart essentially. Once you've successfully set it up, it should look something like this. Keep in mind, it can take around 24 to 48 hours for all the events to come in. So don't worry, here are all the events on the back end. Now, what I would do is go straight onto settings and make sure we've turned on all the key pieces. So allow automatic setup. Yeah, and make sure everything on the back end is set up. Usually it's quite easy to set this stuff up, and TikTok have made it really, really easy. Now let's get into the good stuff. How do we set up the winning campaigns? How does all this work? Just quickly, I mentioned to you at the beginning, there was a 6K free credit you can get. So if you go into tools and then press promotions, it should be here under earning. If you press here, now it says 160 for 160. The way that it works is that basically they're doing a buy one, get one free. If you spend £160, you get £160 in credit essentially. So buy one, get one free kind of offer. Now, I definitely recommend you use this because when you're starting out, usually it's a little bit more expensive. So you get an extra, basically 2x of budget for nothing. And if you know you're going to use ads, you might as well get the free money. Do you know what I'm saying? Now let's go on a campaign. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go on Figma and run you through exactly like what to look for and have the deeper understanding. We'll do the theory and then we'll go through and actually manually set it up. So this is what your campaign will look like. Here's an example of how to imagine it, right? You got your campaign, and with your campaign, you can have ad sets and ads within those ad sets. So this is what it actually looks like. So usually you're going to want sales or leads as your objective. 99% of the time, you're going to want right at the bottom of the funnel. So here's what I'm talking about. Usually you want sales, whether your website, or you want leads with lead generation. Now you can have lead forms or your website again, but these are the ones you want to go for. Go straight for conversion. Don't worry about awareness or traffic. Then you've got these ad sets. So what ad sets mean is that who are you actually trying to go for? Who are you targeting? So there's only 3 to 4 real ways you can do this, right? Ad set 1 or the audience can be completely open. So if I go onto here right now and I scroll straight to the bottom, now if I go into audience targeting, I can suggest people I want to put in, right? If you leave it open, what you're doing is you're letting the platform decide on its own. So you're not saying where to go, you're letting it learn on its own. It might sound counterintuitive to like what you actually want to do, but what I found is that the platform's actually doing really well. So using open is a completely fine tactic, and at scale, that's probably what you're going to use. When you're starting out though, you're probably going to use interest or lookalike. So interest is really straightforward. Interest is literally you go in here and you search keyword, or let's say I'm a plumbing business. So maybe I want to look for kitchen and bathroom, accessories, and so forth. So it tells you different types of people who are interested, what their purchase intention is, and additional interest as well. Interest interest being the main category and usually additional interest just being the sub B. So kitchen knife sets, quite specific. Ideally, if you're going to do this, you want a very big size. So if I go for the interest model, I want to make sure my audience is still fairly broad, and I wouldn't reduce these too much, especially starting out. If we want, we can remove these. We want to make sure that we've got basically a big enough audience for TikTok to basically target to. Anything less than 100,000, I would be very concerned. And it seems here we've got quite a big one anyway. Now, the next one is lookalike, right? Lookalike, I actually don't see get shown very well on these videos. So if I go back onto tools and I press audience manager, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, what we're able to do is actually get the exact people that we want. So what we're able to do is get very specific types of people. So if you're starting out, usually you're probably not going to have website traffic, right? As I showed you before, you know all the data. Once you've got enough people, you can press website and then say, right, anybody who's viewed, anybody who's added, who's purchased, you can find those people. What the lookalike does, it finds people that are very, very similar to what you've put here is your custom audience, right? But when you're starting out, you're not going to have that advantage. The real advantage is coming in here, pressing business account, and then linking it to your existing TikTok account. Now, the reason why you want to do this is because you can target people who are already follow you. So if you've already got a strong organic, then let's say you got 10,000 followers, people who are already interacting with you. Now what you can do is say, right, I'm going to press a lookalike of those followers. So now I've got a lookalike of about 1 million people who are already very similar to already follow me, who already engage with me. This is one of the fastest ways to scale. Here's like a visual representation, right? So people who've let's say here your users are follow. Now, if I press lookalike, it's going to create a bunch of these people. Now, what you would do is usually you'd create the audience. What you need to do is create the custom audience. A custom audience is a section piece. What I was just showing you before. Then I'd press lookalike, and with that lookalike, I can usually press a specific audience. Now, it takes up to 24 hours on TikTok. So you'll have to wait. But once it appears, you can just press it here. Now, what you want to check here is, do you want your lookalike to contain your original audience? Really up to you. I would contain it at the beginning. In this lookalike you're building, do you want your original followers to see the ad? Usually you don't. You want to press omit just because you don't want to retarget them. If you're probably starting out, maybe you will, but just keep in mind that people who already follow you are going to see the ad. Press all, press placements, let's choose to TikTok, press location. So for me, it's going to be United Kingdom. And then you can press any of these. Narrow will get you the most closest to your audience. Balanced will be, it's like kind of like your cousin, and then your broad is like your cousin's cousin. Still related, but it's a bit further away, a bit diluted. When you're starting out, I'd either go narrow or balanced because it'll find the exact person you want. All it's really doing is finding those people who are most aware and most product aware, right? So this is our level of awareness, right? If I zoom in, these are our levels of awareness. Now, when we're starting out, we can do this, right? Usually we want to get fast and quick sales. And that's why we're okay using the lookalike method. And that's because you've already gone out your way and you've already built a warm audience. So it makes our lives, any marketer's life, way easier. So you can run ads literally just like this, right? Very, very straightforward, straight to product, straight to offer, and you'll usually see some conversions. Now, this is the best for fastest results, right? It's a trick, I'd say. It works a month to 3 months. If you only use this method, it's going to die out. But if you want fast results, you can just quickly run this. Again, you're going to need a bunch of creative. Now, if you want to scale, you're going to need to lean into your interest and your open, right? Now, if you're going to scale, you're going to lean into your open and your interest, right? Now, there's two pieces here. With open and interest, it allows you to scale to that, that bigger audience, that unaware, problem-aware, solution-aware audience. And also, it's that type of ad you're going to run as well. Whenever I start a new ad account, to be honest, if I can get some quick wins, I will run something like this at very low spend. But ultimately, you want to think of the creative and the offer that can scale as far up as possible. And the funniest piece is usually that these ads will work on all these audiences. So for example here, this ad won't work here, but this ad will work here. So let's come back to our original one. I'm actually going to switch this to sales because most of you are going to be e-commerce. Press website. If you're on TikTok shop, we'll go through that in a separate video, but that's to do with the GMV max. Scroll down. You usually want to name it quite clearly. I like to include the date, but for this one, I'm going to call it test 1. Now campaign or budget strategy, just go for ad budget basically. Now that you understand the whole theory side again, let's just create a quick campaign from scratch. So we're going to do sales this time, and we're going to do website. TikTok shop we'll talk about in a separate video, but essentially use the GMV max campaign. I'm going to turn the product catalog off. What that does is it basically takes the products from your website and automatically puts them on. It depends on the type of business you have. Like one of our clients in events business, so we only kind of want to advertise one thing. If I want to name it nicely, I'll usually put the date and then I'll put the test name and then I'll also put the objective. I'll use ad set budget. Let's press continue. Now I'm going to use an open campaign for this to make our lives easier. Everything's already set up. We want to optimize for the purchase event. So remember we talked about that when we're setting up the pixel. Scroll down. Usually we'll start at 30 to 50 pounds per day. In a minute, I'm going to show you how to work this number out. Even though I said I'm going to leave it open, I do want to show you what the custom audience looks like. Press lookalike. You can press lookalike watch, lookalike purchase new, and it shows you here. Let's press next. Let's continue. Now we want to set up the actual ads. There are a few ways to do this sometimes. So depending how you set it up right at the beginning, you'll have a few variations. So one will say smart creative, one won't. This one doesn't say smart creative, so every ad is going to be individual, right? So what I do first is add in the website URL. So let's put simpleandco.com. Obviously this is actually my client's account, but this is just, I'm just adding it here. It'll add in all the UTMs naturally, so don't worry about this. Then I'll go into add video. So add existing and go on the existing TikTok post we already have here, or I can just press add post. And then if I want a specific authorization, I can do it. Then you can press it, how do I get TikTok code? It's really, really easy. If not, I can go straight to creative library and press upload directly and upload the file. So if I press a post, it's going to run it straight from the account, from that person's account. So if I press next, now you can see here that it has the person's account and this is what the ad will look like. Now, if I don't run it from the account, let's say I run it straight from the creative library. So I'll use this image. And by the way, TikTok images do work. It's quite funny that I don't see many people doing it. Now, what I will do is I'll scroll down and you'll need to choose an identity. I've linked my current one, but what you can do is just create a custom identity as well. So even though we have TikTok account, sometimes you're doing a split test, you may not want to do it. So it's completely fine. I found that linking it to the actual account, main TikTok account is really great. Like you seem to find that what people do is they'll go on the ad, then they'll press onto your profile and see more of your videos. So that's why organic does really well when you're doing ads overall. But it's up to you how you want to run it. Some people do, some people don't. I tend to try and run it with the actual account. So let's press this one here. Then we'll put the text on the ad here, vintage $25 bundle. Product name, product image, any product images, we'll scroll down, any promotional offers you want to add and so forth. Overall, it's really, really easy. What you'd want to do is press duplicate your ad and then you'd make a few ads in here. So overall, really, really easy to set up. And to make your life easier, press add, call it ad 1, so an ad 2, and then usually you want to call it the file name as well. One thing I have seen is that when you're uploading ads, sometimes it will block you, like it won't let the ad come up. All you need to do is convert your file from a .mov to .mp4. That should get you through that. Now you can also create these little interactive add-ons. It's really up to you if you want to do it. Starting out, I wouldn't say you'd need to, just get the basics right. Then what I would do is I'd press publish and it'll probably automatically publish it and it'll look something like this. Now keep it in mind that I probably wouldn't set up a campaign like this. If you want to see a proper campaign, let's just open up one of our other ones. If I just press lifetime, makes our life a lot easier. Press one of these campaigns here. You can see here there's a few ad sets all open v-test. I think this one glitched out. And then within that there will be a few ads. So add 1, add 2, and then is it same thing here? Add 1, add 2, add 3. Here's actually a little bit of a better example of a few different ad sets, then with lookalike, and then with quite a bit of spend as well, and quite a few transactions here, 643 conversions, £15 cost per purchase. So really nice. Now the next thing is like, what data do you need to look at? And even when you're launching ads, how many should you launch at a time? Like you might hear a lot that you need to launch a lot of creatives and so forth. And there's not usually a very straightforward way of how you do it. I want to run you through some really clear metrics you're going to need to understand. CPM, CTR, cost per click, impressions, reach, cost per event, and then hook rate and thumb stop rate, right? CPM just means what is the cost to advertise in the first place. Now, I think this is really overlooked, but depending on the market, it actually depends on like how much you need to spend to even get, your first purchase. And a lot of people don't explain this really well. Then you've got click-through rate, how many people click on the ad and go onto the website or the landing page. Cost per click is basically cost to get that click. Impressions being number of total views. So one person can view it 5 times. That is 5 impressions. Okay. Reach is just one unique viewer essentially. And then cost per event. So what is the cost per purchase, cost per add to cart? Now, how would you find that data? Really easy. Press custom table, custom columns. You can scroll for a lot of this stuff. So come straight down. You can see here, number of events and CPA. So if I want to know the number of, this is for app. TikTok's quite funny that it breaks it down, but you look for website and I look for number of purchases, cost, and then total value, it should come up. So you can see here, a cost per purchase £15, website conversion value was £22,000, and then ROAS, return on ad spend, was 2.24. It's really, really easy. So if you want to know your reach, your CPM, just add it on and it will automatically come up. But these are the main ones you're going to need. So cost to reach 1,000 people is £12, but then your CPM might be £4. So that's the only difference. Now that you understand that and where to find like that data, here's how it goes, right? Because ideally, if you're running an ad account, you kind of want to put as many ads in as possible, but you can't always do that. Let's say I'm in a market where my cost to reach people is $20, right? It costs me $20 to reach 1,000 people, okay? I'll need a click-through rate of around 1%. That's like a good ad. And let's say my conversion rate on my landing page is 2%. So my cost per click is $2. After spending $20, or I think $100, sorry, I've reached 5,000 people. Out of 5,000 people, 50 of them clicked because it's a CTR. And out of that, there was a 1%, 2% conversion rate. So that means one person bought. So my cost per purchase was $100. Yeah, if you're in a market where your CPM is quite high, then I would just make sure that you're spending the right amount. Now, I do have this other sheet as well, which tells you your minimum and your maximum based off your market and your sale price. So your minimum you'd want to spend is around, like, for this example here, it's $50, and then your maximum is your $400. And the way, again, it works it out is based off the 1% CTR with a 1% conversion rate. So based off that number, if I, for example, I had an $80 product, which with the market had a $5 CPM, then it will cost me $50 to get my first purchase based off these numbers. And ideally, we want to make these numbers better, right? So when we say we want more creative, we actually want better click-through rate. That's what we're saying. And that changes as well, right? So if, for example, the market is cheaper, I can then spend less. I just need to spend $30 and I can get my first purchase. I do have a maximum model, and it's up to you how you want to do it, but I just do whatever the cost of the product is times 5. Now, you can do the cost of the gross margin you've got times 5. It's really up to you. It's just how much are you willing to lose? And what you really want to know is what is the minimum spend? Now, for e-commerce, it's a bit easier. For high ticket, it gets a little bit more difficult, I would say. But even in this example here, where you're selling a $1,000 product, let's assume that your CPM is $30 with a 1% click-through rate, 1% conversion rate. It costs you $3 a click. So 10,000 people seen it, 100 people clicked, one purchase, costs you a minimum $300. Now, if you're in a market where you've got a really high CPM, then I would advise you to launch with just 1 or 2 ads. Like I usually advise that anyways, but you're going to have a really hard time trying to scale your creative. So you really want to do as minimum ads as you can, but try and maximize like the quality. So if you're in a market where the CPM is quite high at $20, $30, you're going to be in a ride, right? So you're probably not going to be able to launch that many ads because your actual ad needs a certain amount of spend per day. So I'd be a bit more conservative with the ads that I'd push out. But and then on the other side, if I'm in a market where it's like my CPM's really cheap, it's like $3, I'd pump out a lot of ads. Like I'd be able to pump out 5 to 10. So you can see here. And there's nothing wrong with being in an expensive market. It's just how you approach that situation is a little bit different. Now, what type of ads should you make? I want to preface, before you look at the ads, understand the order of importance, right? Ultimately, it comes down to the product. This is ICP and offer. If you've got a really great product that people want and you've got a really strong offer, then it'll make your life 10 times easier. But if you've got a really bad product where people don't want it, you're selling something people just don't want, there's no proof that the market wants it, doing more creatives is not going to solve this problem, right? So just understand that it's these 3 that you need to crack first. Now, let's make the assumption that you've cracked it, right? You've got a great product. Let's use a shoe reseller. So you've got really in demand, like Nike Jordans you want to sell. You've got a really in demand product. And let's say you're able to get them 50% off retail, right? Really easy offer right there. Now it comes down to like, right, what creatives should I launch with? So here are 24 creatives that I know work. And then there are 10 photo ads I also launch with as well. If I was starting a new account, I would always go for the general explanation, right? So usually what is the offer or what is the product straight up? That usually sets the bar for me. So what we'll do is we'll quickly just watch a quick video of what the ad would look like.
Getting a £300 lunch bail. To give you a few little tasters, you might get Pro Sport, like Super Bowl jacket, get Champion, you're going to get some Reebok, but it is really a variety bail.
So again, it's just a product explanation. So for that market of retailers buying from wholesale, she's explained here's the exact product, and £300 is quite good for that market. It's like basically a deal. But I usually start off with what is the product, what is the offer, and then just run with it and let that be the baseline. This doesn't mean it's going to get the highest ROAS. It just means that I want to know what the baseline is. And I know that if I show this and it works, then right, I'm going to pump out as many variations. And it proves what we're talking about here, right? We've got the product ICP and offer fit, right? Product market fit. That's what we're looking for. Now, if I launch with this and this does really, really well, next thing I'm going to do is then create 24 different creatives here, all different styles. So you can do the TikTok review style where you're reviewing a product. This is what we call B-roll with voiceover.
Here's exactly what has happened to me after a month of...
Again, a lot of it is B-roll. You can do the fake customer call. I've done this a few times where you're calling a customer, the TikTok comment, and so forth. You can make a bunch of these creatives, right? Once you've nailed the first piece. So 24 video ads here and then 10 photo ads. If you want to get it, press the link down below. You'll be able to access these for free. Now, let's assume that you've launched your ads. Let's look at the full funnel. I'm going to do the e-commerce style to make our lives a lot easier. There's a few problems you're probably going to run into. So we've already talked about the expensive market problem where, it just costs you a lot. And you'll be able to know that if your CPM is greater than $13, you're in an expensive market. So it just means you need to be very particular which ads you're going to spend on, and then just understand that's going to take a bit of money. The next thing is you may have a low CTR problem, an ad problem, right? So if your ad is less than 1.5%, I'd say 1% if you want to really push it, you've got an ad problem. If you're greater than 1.5%, fantastic. You're getting enough clicks on the ad ideally. Of course, if your purchase number is fine, where it's like, let's say your cost per purchase is like £10 and you're selling a £50 product, then fair enough. But this, I wouldn't be too worried. But again, we want as high CTR as possible. You may have a conversion rate problem. So anything less than say 2%, I would say, right, let's have a look and see where the landing page needs fixing. You may have a cost per purchase. Then you may have a checkout problem, which is usually if your cost per checkout is 2x your cost per purchase, there's an issue at the checkout page, meaning there's a shipping issue, maybe it's a traffic quality issue, but something's happened here. So look deeper in the funnel. How do we solve these? If you've got an expensive market, it's just about having a really, really strong offer and a really good LTV, and ideally really good conversion rate as well. But it's all about the offer at that point. You need to be really thorough. If it's ad creatives, just more ad creatives. If it's landing page, it's CRO and then matching it for the funnel. So if you're running an ad which is talking about, say, water bottles, make sure it follows through with that. And then you've got, again, your shipping and delivery problems. Now, I've shown you an example. This is from a Meta ad account, funnily enough, but you can see here that if your cost per checkout is at £6.10, but it jumps to £58, you can really easily see. So you can see these numbers as you expose yourself more to it. If we go onto TikTok here, again, custom table, let's quickly just do it now. Add to cart. If I press the CPA here, cost per add to cart. So it shows me it's £3 to add to cart, but then £15 to make a purchase. Now, again, it all comes down to context as well. In this example, I've said 2x cost per checkout. I'd say cost per add to cart can be up to 4x, but it's just basically making you aware of the problems that could be happening, essentially. Now, the final thing is you want to know is your break-even ROAS and your break-even CAC. And funny enough, I forgot to tell you what ROAS meant. It means return on ad spend. So this is a really easy way to understand it, right? How much can you spend to get a customer? So if I'm spending, let's say it's costing me $70 to get a customer, I'm literally at break-even. That's the maximum I can spend. And then on the ROAS side is how much, on the ads manager, what is the minimum amount I can be making back on ads? Now, how that's worked out, or your sale price, your product, divided by your gross margin. And then break-even CAC is really straightforward. It's just whatever your gross margin is. Now, it's really important you understand these numbers so that you know how much you can actually spend. And when you're working out break-even CAC, make sure you're including your cost of goods sold and the tax within that as well. So now I know, for example, I'm doing a 1.6 ROAS, and my break-even is 1.14, and I'm making $20 profit on every single product that I sell. Really, really easy. If I just play around with these numbers, if I make this 2%, if I double the click-through on my ads and maintain a 1% conversion rate, you can see here that my ROAS goes to 3.2, and I'm making $45 profit on every product that I've sold. And then same thing with the conversion rate. If I can 2x my click-through rate and I can 2x my conversion rate, so that's actually 2 times 2 is 4, so 4x, right? Now I'm getting a 6.4 with a 6.4x ROAS with a profit of $57.50. So as long as you understand these numbers, you're sorted, right? So now you can see that if you can make these numbers work, it's quite easy to become profitable. But there are scenarios where it's really hard to become profitable, right? So let's say your gross margin, like let's say everything included, is around $50. So it costs you've only got $30 of gross margin to work with. It's really, really hard. Very, very hard. 2.6 ROAS. Now it depends on the type of product, like your brand and your product you're selling. Sometimes it's really easy to get a 10x ROAS or a 5x ROAS early on. As you scale, if you're spending 1K a day, you're probably not going to get 10x ROAS. But you need to have a look and understand like what is your break-even ROAS going to be. The lower your break-even ROAS, the easier it is, because as you scale, your ROAS tends to go down. Now keep in mind as well, one big thing that can affect it, again, this is why I bring up CPM, is CPM, because now $10 CPM kind of messes up the whole piece. Your profit was $5 before, it was $17. So ideally you want to bring your gross margin up or your cost of goods sold down as much as possible. Now, if you want access to the sheet, just comment below and I'll literally just put the spreadsheet link and then you can just access this yourself. You officially now learned your first 100 hours of ads, right? What I've shown you is literally about 100 hours worth, which took me about 100 hours to figure all this stuff out. It might seem a bit technical, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Once you understand the numbers and the metrics, it's really, really easy to wrap your head around. Like, I know it seems really overwhelming, but I wouldn't be that intimidated. It's just one of those things where it's just volume exposure. And I would definitely go over this video a few times to try and like see what points you need to go over. I'm gonna have more videos on the channel breaking down more specific concepts, but again, like, keep exposing yourself to this stuff. Literally just live on the ads manager, keep moving around. But after a bit, you're going to end up probably following this model because it's the easiest model to follow. And hopefully this was easy to learn. I did try my best, but I think it got a bit technical. But I'll be releasing more videos, so make sure to subscribe. Thank you.